we ready? Okay. I don't, it's hard for me to picture myself doing this, and I want to know where you got the courage to go with a 1-year-old to Phoenix and say goodbye to your family and move to a place that had so little support.
I was very sick. I had been in and out of the hospital with asthma, and I just couldn't get myself back together. And we had sold our house and moved in with my parents. And Daddy was not happy, camper living with my parents with you as a baby. And the doctor made an offhand remark, if you went to a place like Arizona where there was a dry climate, you would feel better. So my daddy and I decided that we would try it. And we didn't have a house. We had, after we were married, we bought a house in Lower Park Heights. And it was, it had a coal burning furnace. And it was, and Daddy didn't know how to handle it, so the furnace would go out once in a while. And the fumes from the coal burning were
Just horrible
for me. So that we sold the house and moved in with Grandmama and Granddaddy just to, so I could maybe recover. But I just didn't. I would wind up in a hospital. So it was summertime, and it was the worst time of the year for me with allergies. And so that's when we decided we would go. And because I was so sick, my parents didn't raise a fuss about me leaving.
So how did you get to Arizona? Dad went ahead first, right?
Yeah, he went by train. And you think I cried when I saw you all leave. You can't imagine what it was like when he left. Ronnie Goodman took me to the train station.
So you went by train also?
No.
Say goodbye to
And
Dad.
then, after he got a job, and we were going to go look for a house, he was looking for a place to stay. And there was absolutely no place to rent in Arizona. There was just nothing. I had Phyllis Copeland, Lenny Copeland, who I didn't know when we moved out there, but they were friends of Evelyn Weitzman's. And they lived in a garage. I mean, it was rough out there.
It was after the war.
After the war. And when we went to the, when we went to look for a place, nobody would rent. They would rent or they would sell, but they wanted a month or two to leave.
Right.
And so it was very rough out there. And then, so we decided to, we saw this house. My mother didn't know I was pregnant, but I was feeling terrible, and we went to the house on 13th Street, and it was empty. And it was partially furnished. It had a couch in the living room, and a bed in the bedroom, and a table in the dining room. And so we could get immediate possession of it. I never walked through the house. I felt terrible. So my mother and Daddy walked through the house and said it was nice, and then I think it was $14,000, which was an exorbitant amount of money for the house at that time. But we took it, and that's how I moved to Arizona. 13th Street.
But did you fly to Phoenix?
Yeah, I flew, Grandma, Joseph, and I flew to Phoenix on a 10-hour, no, it was more, I think it was a 12-hour flight.
Oh my
And
God.
it stopped in different places. It stopped in.
Yeah, and it stopped on the way, and beside that, there was no airport in Phoenix, so just Sky Harbor was out in the field. It was a little tiny shack, it was Sky Harbor Airport. And when we got off the plane in early, it must have been late August, it was so hot, I couldn't believe it. But we stayed at the hotel. What's the big hotel there? The San Maurice or something?
Yeah, at one time, I think it was.
Yeah. And we got in touch with the realtor, and he drove us around trying to find a house. And every night, the newspaper came out at 12 o'clock, midnight, and the people were lined up all around the newspaper office trying to see if anything was for rent. It was horrible. And we were lucky because my uncle had owned a motel on Grand Avenue. And there was a law that you could not stay in a hotel or a motel more than 3 days because people had to keep moving. So we were able to stay at this motel until we found a place to live. But I remember my mother going to a little grocery store on Grand Avenue and saying to the proprietor, "Have you heard these things? We really need a place to stay. It's really rough. They brought us out of the motel." So my mother, thinking she was joking, said, "You think we could pitch a tent in your yard?" And the maid said, "Yeah, I'm awful sorry, I rented it out yesterday."
Oh my gosh.
Stop.